What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Another video means another dopamine high because I had to buy something to feel something. And today we have another review, a long overdue review. This figure's been out for a while now, so I'm super late to the party. But it is NECA's Scorched Alien from Alien Romulus. And I have had this figure in hand for a while now. I've just been putting off this video because I've been trying to catch up with other figure releases, and unfortunately the Scorched Alien was just always on the back burner. But here we are now, and I'm gonna go over this figure like it just came out the other day because I want to give this figure all the love and attention it deserves. And it's actually really nice to be reviewing Alien again. It's actually been a year since I've reviewed something from the Alien franchise, and hopefully sooner rather than later I will be doing another Alien video because NECA has announced another Alien Romulus figure, that being the Ultimate Xenomorph XX121. So I can't wait to get that guy in hand and show off him for y'all. And I know it is an Alien, but hopefully sooner than later I'm also going to be doing Predator reviews again. It's also been a year since I've last reviewed a Predator figure, but with the announcement of Killer of Killers and Badlands, hopefully we are going to get some figures from those movies. But with all that said, at any point during or after the video, you do realize you want to pick up this awesome figure for yourself, starting off from the source at the NECA store for $39.99, the same price going at Target and Entertainment Earth, and then for $36.96 you can get them on the Walmart website, and then finally the most expensive option is the Big Bad Toy Store for $46.99. So like in every video, there will be links in the description if you want to pick up this figure online from any of these sources. And if you do end up getting one of these figures because of this video and using any of these links, please tell me how you feel about your figure once you got them in hand, and if you share any of the same opinions that I will in this video. Obviously, I love talking about this stuff, so conversation is always encouraged here. And with all that said, I think that's enough yapping for me. I think it's time that we open up this figure. And starting off with the packaging, it's very different from what we're used to. There's no lid on the front, that you can open and close. You just get to see the Alien front and center. We have the Alien Romulus logo with the Scorched Xenomorph title there. On the side, we get a portrait of our Xenomorph with the Alien Romulus logo with the title yet again, and then the same format on this side, just with a different portrait of our figure. And then when we take it to the back, we get some more photos of the figure, a brief description of what he's all about, and a little thing that says what is included with our figure. And sorry about me tilting the box, it's just my setup's a little bit smaller than usual, so it's hard to fit everything in the shot. But overall, this is the packaging, nothing too crazy, so let's open it up. So I'm going to do my best to try and keep this segment as short as possible because I've had a really terrible track record with my reviews, especially about ones that is anything NECA, of just dragging it on and going on tangents and just not shutting up about how good these figures look, because NECA does a really good job with the visual presentation of their figures, and this figure is no exception. So I'm going to try and keep this as digestible and formatted as possible, so I don't go on and on and on. So like I said, with any Xenomorph figure made by NECA, the Scorched Alien looks amazing. NECA really gives their 100% for all of these figures, making it so much worth that $40 price tag. So yeah, the Scorched Alien is covered from head to tail in so many details. And starting with that nasty mug, the scar on his face, it looks great, which is to be expected, seeing that's what makes the Scorched Alien the Scorched Alien. But besides that nasty scar, the gums and teeth look amazing, with each tooth being individually sculpted and the gums looking nastier than ever. Then there's the various lines and tubes found throughout the head, back, and stomach. And then there's the skull that is carefully sculpted underneath the transparent carapace dome. And speaking of carapace, there are multiple carapace protrusions specifically found on the back, shoulders, elbow, thighs, and knees. And then the bone-like structures found on the chest, back, bicep, feet, and most notably the vertebrae whip itself, his tail. And finally, throughout everything I just word vomited at you, there are so many other smaller details on this figure, and like I said, this is why I can just go on forever about why this figure looks good. But you know, there's all these ripped lines and scratches, and there's these barnacle-like circles seen on the carapace. There's just so much to love about this figure. Basically, I'm saying I love everything about the sculpt work on this figure because NECA knows how to make a good Xenomorph figure. So yeah, at this point, you get what I'm saying. Sculpt work is great, bunch of details. NECA gave me another reason to absolutely glaze one of their products. But as far as the paint job goes for the Scorched alien, just like with the sculpt work, it's great. Not really as much to go into as the sculpt work, but that's usually how it goes. But the majority of the Scorched alien's paint job is made up of this really dark blue, but it's quite nicely broken up by this translucent orange that can be found sprinkled around the Scorched alien. It can be seen in the tubing, neck, shoulders, forearms, fingertips, and the thighs, knees, and toes. So basically almost every limb on this figure has this translucent orange, and again, it does break up that dark blue quite nicely. And of course, there's other details such as the silver teeth, claws, and weathering on the tail that also break up the blue, which is really nice. So all in all, whether it's the sculpt or paintwork, NECA does an amazing job, and it is seen here on this figure. And I think that's enough glazing for the visuals. I'm pretty sure you get what I'm saying at this point. And let's move on to that next segment. Moving over to articulation and starting with the head region, we can rotate the head 360 degrees, and then we can also have the Xenomorph look up and down a decent amount, and we can get some decent range when it comes to tilting the head side to side. And of course, we can open up the mouth and get a ton of range here, so if you want to fit a helmet, a skull, anything that seems like it would be appropriately placed into a Xenomorph's mouth, you can do so. And we can actually have the neck sway back and forth as well, which is really nice to see because it gives the head some more range. And then moving over to the arm, we can rotate the arm 360 degrees, and then we can spin the shoulder 360 degrees as well. And then if you wanted, you can bring up the arm a decent amount, and if we were to invert the arm 180 degrees, we can get some decent range moving it this way as well. And we are granted some decent range if you wanted him to open up his arms horizontally. Then from the elbow down, we can rotate that area 360 degrees, and then we get some really good range when it comes to that elbow bend for our Xenomorph. And then moving down to the hands, we can rotate them 360 degrees and bend the wrist however we please. And then moving on down to the torso, we can rotate it 360 degrees, and then we can get some slight back and forth motion with the torso as well. And the same could be said about the range when it comes to swaying the torso side to side as well. And then moving things on down to the leg, we can't get a full 360 degree rotation, but the range is still really good nonetheless. And we are granted some alright splittage for our Xenomorph. And then from our first knee joint, we can rotate the leg 360 degrees down. And from that knee, we can get a really good knee bend. Very happy with the range here. And moving down to the second knee joint, we can rotate from that joint down 360 degrees as well. And then this knee bend, not as wide as the first one, is still pretty good for what it's supposed to do, so very happy here. And then moving down to the foot, or at least where the toes are, you can rotate them 360 degrees and bend that ankle-ish area however you please. And then moving to the tail, and for the first time, I think, quote me if I'm wrong, you can't rotate it 360 degrees. I'm used to getting that full range of motion, but on this figure it seems more so like you can pivot it. And just like with any Xenomorph tail by NECA, there is a wire so you can manipulate and articulate it pretty much however you want within reason. And unfortunately for me, my tail actually snapped, and this is the first time I've ever had a Xenomorph tail snap, so I don't know if NECA changed the formula for how they do the tails on the Xenomorphs for the Scorched alien, or if I just had a really, bad stroke of luck, but my tail snapped. Never had this happen before, and I did end up fixing it. My Xenomorph went through surgery and all that, and it is all well and good now, but it sucks that it happened in the first place. Hopefully none of y'all's Scorched aliens or any of y'all's aliens figures tails snap, because it is a pain in the ass to put back together, having the tail in the place and all that. And getting into our first feature, and that is the second mouth, like seen on every other Xenomorph figure. It works like any other Xenomorph figure's second mouth. So if you've functioned one, you've functioned them all pretty much. It's a solid accessory. It looks great. And personally, I have no issues with it. And one feature I was not expecting to come with this figure is that you can actually take off the face piece of the Scorched alien. And first of all, get a gnarly visual of the skull underneath the carapace dome, but you can actually put an unaltered, unscarred face piece on the Scorched alien, so you could have him look like a normal drone or warrior from the movie. Personally, I'm going to keep the scar on because I think it looks cool, but I think it's really cool that NECA gave us the ability to do this with this figure. And another thing I just wasn't really expecting to come with this figure is swappable hands, and there's a lot for a Xenomorph figure. The last thing I expect with Xenomorph figures is swappable hands, even if it's just an additional pair. And in this one, we have an additional 5 in total, giving us 6 because, you know, the default hands. So like I said, there's default hands, these closed fist knuckle hands. So if you want him on the ground, you can do that. There's these holding hands, these half open, half holding hands, what I can only describe as zesty hands, and then my personal favorite, the bitch slap hands. So all in all, I think it's pretty cool that they're swappable hands. I mean, I'm probably not going to swap them all that often, but if you're someone who does toyography or really likes doing stop motion, I think those are going to be the two demographics to really benefit from this. And I think they only really did all these swappable hands to make up for the fact that there is no egg for this figure, because I think there's no Xenomorph eggs in the movie, if I remember correctly. And one thing that's included that's really nice is this stand. Assembly is stupid easy. You just put the stem into the hole that's in the base and you're done. And at the top, the thing that holds onto the figure is on a ball joint, so it can warp to the figure however it needs to, and it is a nice little thing that they threw in. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like it's the best stand in the world. Again, it is appreciated that they did give us one, but I'm going to stick to the NECA dynamic action figure stand if I'm ever going to display this figure on anything outside of my shelf. And getting into our next accessory, and we have the face hugger, and I think the alien Romulus face hugger looks dope. I really like the black and tan going on. I don't know what causes it, if it's the black goo or whatever went on in the lab, but I just really like this design, and I think NECA did such a great job with the sculpt and paintwork on this figure so well that I'm actually kind of afraid to show some parts of it, because YouTube might think that I'm showing you some other bodily parts that aren't a face hugger. But no, I think NECA did such a great job with this face hugger, and the tail of course can be manipulated, so if you want to try and display this face hugger in a variety of different positions and poses, you can do so. So overall, great job NECA. YouTube thinks I'm putting a vagina on the screen. And then moving to the chest burster, and I don't know if this is completely accurate to the alien Romulus chest burster, because on this card there's some black on it, and this figure, this accessory, this chest burster doesn't have any black on him. But as far as chest bursters go, it looks like any other one that we've gotten from Xenomorph figures. So I mean, I guess it hits that standard, but no, it does look good. I mean, the paint job is really simple. It's just that yellowish tan that we're used to seeing, and the sculpt work is great. Tons of detail on such a small canvas. NECA never ceases to impress me. And just like with the face hugger, the tail can be articulated. So if you want to try and put them in a different position, I don't know what that position would be, but if you wanted to, you can try. And overall, very happy with this little guy as well. And here we are at the turntable segment of the video, pretty much where I go over what I like, dislike, pros, cons, strengths, and weaknesses, stuff like that. Give my general thoughts and opinions out on the figure, give y'all something to bounce off of, and get a conversation started in the comments section below. And I most likely will reply to y'all's comments, because I obviously love talking about this stuff. And in this segment, I always go over the negative first, just to get the sour out of the way, because I don't like dwelling on the negative any longer than I already have to. And fortunately for this figure, there's only one thing that I really dislike, and that is the fact I fucking broke the tail off of the figure. Now, like I said earlier, I don't know if this is a me thing or if this is a Scorched alien thing, because this is the first time I've had the tail snap off. So I don't know if they changed something with the formula for the tails for the Scorched alien, but it's just a shame that it happened. And I mean, I did fix it, but now I have to be more careful whenever I go back and play with this figure, especially if I'm going to articulate his tail. But after that, that's the only thing I really disliked about this figure, and I don't even know if that's 100% the figure's fault. And getting into the positives, which is pretty much everything, this is a really solid figure, and starting in order of the video, visual presentation, it was outstanding. I can go on forever why I like how this figure looks, but all in all, NECA did a great job. Sculpting work just jam-packed, full of detail, and I think they handled the paint job really good. Really like how they broke up the dark blues with, you know, the translucent orange and the weathering on the tail, and, you know, the silver that we see on the teeth and claws of our boy. Now, as far as articulation goes, it is good. That is it. It is good. I don't think it reinvents the wheel. I don't think it's the best articulation that we've ever seen. It's what I would consider the standard for the Xenomorph figure by NECA. So it does its job, and it does it well. That's all I really got to say about the articulation. I mean, do watch out for the tail, because, again, I don't know if that was a me or a NECA thing, but yeah. And then the accessories, there's a bunch, which is great, because this figure is $40, and I feel like the amount of accessories we get really justifies that price tag. You really feel like you're getting what you pay for, and that's one thing I love about NECA. Some brands way overcharge for figures and don't deliver on, you know, what comes with said figure, but with NECA, I feel like it is fair for what you pay for. And that's just another thing I love about this figure, or just something NECA does with the majority of their figures, is they give us all these accessories so we can display our figures so many different ways, so it doesn't get boring or repetitive anytime soon. I just love that freedom, and NECA delivers on it every single time. So that's another thing to like about not just this figure, but anything that NECA gives us. So moral of the story, very good figure, very good feeling figure, very good looking figure, very plentiful accessory figure. Don't break the fucking tail, because I sure as fuck did. But if you don't, you're gonna have a very solid time with this figure. So with all that said, if you enjoyed today's video, a like and a subscription is always appreciated. Don't worry about the comments. I know moving your fingers is a lot, and, you know, it takes a lot of time. But if you do want to bounce off anything I did say in the video, you are more than welcome to, and I will reply to y'all's comments, because I do like talking about this stuff. And don't worry about the bell, we both know that shit is broken. But if you did end up picking up this figure already, and they're already in your grubby little hands, and you have opinions you want to share, go ahead, do it. I want to know what you like and dislike about this figure. And if you want to see more content like this, there is plenty of it on the channel. I have a handful of alien videos. I've also reviewed a bunch of Predator videos and Alien versus Predator videos, so if that interests you, go check it out. But if you're also interested in franchise such as Halo, Star Wars, and Warhammer, I have a bunch of videos on that stuff as well, so go check that out. And with all that said, please have an amazing day and stay hydrated. It's really important.